When are you going to have kids?
Hey, Bub! When do you want to have kids?
It's gonna have to come out at some point. I mean...
I actually have had headaches throughout.
Definitely.
So what do we think, judging by that?
That's weighing heavily on boy.
That was the time to show that it's a girl! Woo! And the name is...
Belle Violet.
Yay! Welcome to our nursery!
Hello.
Little baby socks. I wanted to give you a little update on the nursery. I think you're going to be such an amazing dad. I am so lucky to have you in my life and just to be part of this with you. Everybody, we're joining you here for our birth story of this little one, little Miss Belle. She's about to bust into a tantrum. She's not sure. She's got actually a devious little smile right now. Got a cute little hat on. So, the birth story.
Yes.
Going back about 2 weeks for us, because we're shooting this on Sunday when Belle is 2 weeks old.
2 weeks today at 8:31
p.m.
Yes.
Due date was Wednesday the 17th, and it's crazy how that is the day, like, everybody asks you, when do you do? And it's like September 17th is the biggest upcoming date in your mind.
Yeah, I still haven't transitioned to the birthday being the 21st yet.
Right.
I still have the 17th just burned into my brain.
So that's like such a big deal to you, and then when your baby does not come on your due date, it just kind of like comes and goes, and it passes very uneventfully, you know, with the exception of everybody asking you on that day, is the baby here yet? You know, like, and babies come when they want, and it really just reminds you that that due date is just really an estimate.
Yeah.
Not so much like a concrete date that you can really hang your hat on.
They don't know exactly. Then the next day we had a doctor's appointment.
Yes.
Went in and...
just a regularly scheduled weekly one.
We had it set.
This appointment at 40 weeks was just checking me again, and I believe I was dilated to a 3 at that time, and 60%?
80% effaced, I think. Doctor kind of left it like, we'll see you next Tuesday, if not before then. And
I think we were kind of hoping that it would happen before then. I mean, we haven't really shared exact details about who our doctor is, but I feel like maybe at this point...
it's confidential for him, it's not confidential for us.
But his name is Dr. Gates if you're in the Southern Illinois area, and going to Memorial Hospital of Carterville for your our New Horizons OBGYN right there in Memorial Hospital for your prenatal checkups and stuff like that. I mean, we have just absolutely loved him. He's been awesome throughout the whole process, as have all of the nurses and people.
And some of those people watch the videos, so hi guys, thank you.
Hi, thanks. Really appreciate it.
Friday night, we just went out to Buffalo Wild Wings and ate like we normally would on a Friday night.
And I will say, people joke about like all the unsolicited advice you get during pregnancy, but wait till you just go past your due date. That's when the advice really comes pouring in, and everybody tells you how to make your baby come out.
Oh, yeah. Warm bath, spicy food, bumpy roads.
All this stuff. And, you know, really, the baby's going to come out at their timing, unless they're induced, you know. So we thought, let's have what may be a final date night at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes, it was very romantic. Saturday, I think we just kind of did our normal Saturday stuff too, didn't we?
I think we actually went shopping. We did go for a little walk. Just really thinking, you know, anytime now. I do remember Saturday night feeling some contractions. It wasn't the first contractions that I had felt throughout this process, but the week prior I remember thinking, okay, I'm feeling a little something, but it was short-lived, and it's what's known as Braxton Hicks contractions, when it's not your real labor contractions, but it's like, okay, I'm feeling some tightening up, I'm feeling almost a crampiness there, but it's not an intense pain, and maybe it's not following any consistent pattern. And that's what had happened a little bit intermittently that final week.
This was sort of like, are these contractions that I'm feeling territory? Weren't exactly sure what was going on yet.
I definitely Googled, what do contractions feel like in the latter part of my pregnancy, because people describe it to you, but it's hard to know for sure. And so Saturday night I was feeling a little bit of that, but it had kind of tapered off by the time we went to bed. Woke up Sunday morning. I got up around, I don't know, between 6 and 7 maybe, and I was definitely feeling more of those contractions again. Again, at this point, it was light, it was not real painful, but it was definitely something I was feeling. And so I think it was then around 7 o'clock when I came in, and Tyler was still sleeping, and I said, not saying today's the day or anything,
You might want
but
to take a shower and put some clothes on.
you may want to just, be prepared. I remembered we were talking like we needed to get some groceries that day.
Oh, yeah. I was going to do some work up in the nursery, I think.
He had some blinds still to put up on the skylights and whatnot. And so we did have kind of some things we were planning to do. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go upstairs and get my makeup on. In the back of my mind thinking, what if this is baby day? I want this to last. So I will be doing a video actually on the makeup that turned out to be my labor look, I guess you would say.
Throughout the morning, they got a little bit closer and closer.
We were keeping track the whole time.
Keeping track. I started gathering, putting everything together just in case. Brought whatever I could out to the car even.
Oh, in terms of our hospital bags.
Hospital
We had
stuff.
those basically packed up with just a few technology things that we had to
chargers and whatnot. Maybe by mid to late morning, we were kind of just sitting on the couch, timing things out.
And I remember thinking, this has gone on how many hours now? Thinking back to 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and this is the longest this has ever
it was consistent.
happened.
And they would get closer, and then they'd back off a little bit with the contraction times. So we just weren't quite sure exactly. And luckily, we live really close to the hospital. I mean, it's a 10-minute drive for us, 10 to 15 minutes, so we didn't have to be planning really far ahead.
I remember calling Mom that morning, or maybe she called me. I can't remember who called who, but I was on the phone and basically saying, we're feeling contractions more than we have any other time. I say we. It was really just me.
I didn't feel anything.
I remember telling her, I don't know if you guys want to come down here yet. They're 5 hours away, 6-ish, due to their detour they were planning to make to pick up Pup on their way down. I was a little hesitant to tell him to come because I thought, gosh, what a bummer if everybody travels all the way down and it's just kind of everything tapers off. But what we really were looking at closely, I remember, was what was happening in the span of an hour. How
they recommend you go to the hospital if you've had contractions that are 5 minutes apart. Consistently for an hour, lasting a minute or more. And we had not gotten to that point yet at any time.
And then Mom just said, I got a feeling this is probably going to be it. So we're just going to go ahead and head on down. And fortunately they did at that time because it was the day. Yes. And it wasn't really much long after that conversation that we were like, okay, we're getting to the point where some of these are coming at 2 minutes.
Yeah, they had not been consistent at 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden they jumped. One was 2 minutes, and then one was 3 minutes, and so we just kind of said, you know what, let's get in the car and go.
And the way they felt, it's kind of like they build up to a point. You can feel when one is starting to come on. It wasn't always like out and out screaming in pain, but I don't know, what do you remember me doing?
You would just kind of tighten up and
I remember grabbing your
my
hand.
hand towards the more difficult ones. A couple of tears kind of came down when they get real intense, but pretty tough about it.
I was pretty tough, yeah.
Pretty tough. So then we just went to the hospital, had the baby, and that was it. All right, thanks. Worst birth vlog ever.
I really rambled on and on about those contractions, and then, bam, there was a baby.
Went out in the car, drove in, and I think you maybe had a couple of contractions in the car.
Yes, I did. I had 2 or 3. I had one walking into the hospital.
They brought her up in the wheelchair.
A nurse came in and, had me right away get dressed in one of the gowns so she could check me out, and she checked for dilation again, which was at this point, I think she said was a 4 to a 5. We took a picture on Instagram letting everybody know we are here because they basically admitted us at that point.
We went into the birthing room and they needed to put an IV in, which...
I might still have a couple bruises.
That was a little bit of a debacle. She doesn't have friendly veins, I guess.
I like to say my veins are nicely protected within my body. Let 3 people literally take a stab at it.
Take a stab at it, and they ended up getting it. Once they got that in, she had to get a whole bag of fluids before they could do an epidural. Mm-hmm. So contractions are happening this whole time, and they had a neat little monitor hooked up to her, and you could actually see a chart of when the contractions had come and things like that. And
at that point, I had mentioned before that you kind of feel them building up, and then you feel the most tense, the most painful part of them. And at that point, I remember the contraction would just kind of shoot right up. There wasn't that build up to them. So, and coming closer together as well, Tyler had turned on the Rams game that we had started to watch at home. And I actually found that oddly relaxing to have sports on the TV in there.
Once that was done, they basically called the anesthesiologist, and she came up and kicked me out for a while. Mm-hmm. So.
And they did the epidural, and so I just kind of had to sit there, sort of hunched over. They do the epidural in your kind of mid to lower back area. And I've heard people talk about that being really painful, or the most painful thing they had to do with their labor situation. I didn't think it was that painful. I thought she was very quick about it, and I mean, really, it wasn't bad. I noticed a very quick effect from that, though. It's like I could still kind of move my legs, but the feeling, the sensation in them was totally dumbed down.
Somebody was getting a little fussy, so I'll just hold it. There might be some swaying, but please don't adjust your TV sets. You'd gotten the epidural. The nurse came out and got me. And you were, at that point, you didn't even feel contractions.
Right. Did not feel a thing. One thing I did feel was kind of a jittery feeling. Remember how I was talking about that?
Yeah, a little shaky.
Everybody said that's totally normal. And one thing I felt like is when I slowed my breathing down, when I took some just really slow, deep breaths, it almost controlled that feeling a little bit. Nurses changed, I remember.
Kim, right?
Yeah, Kim came in. Kim was awesome too. All throughout that time, they've periodically checked to see, how's the dilation coming along, and it had increased. And
I think right after the epidural, you were at 7. Gone from 4 to 5 to 7 in just a couple hours.
And then at what point did Dr. Gates come in and actually break my water?
That was right after you got the epidural. Okay. Shortly after that, the nurse came in and was looking at monitoring the vitals of Miss Belle here. Mm-hmm. And it was just her heart rate had just dropped just a little bit.
When I was on my right side, they were picking up like a lower or a less perky heartbeat, but when I was laying on my left side, it was just fine. And so they're like, we're going to keep you on your left side, and we're going to give you some oxygen. So they gave me an oxygen mask to wear. Then I remember Kim coming in, checking me again, and telling me like, wow,
we're ready to go.
You're really close. The baby, like, what did she say? The baby's like,
oh yeah,
head is right there.
It was like an inch and a half. Get Dr. Gates. See if he's ready for you to start pushing. It's a moment where it's like, okay,
yeah,
we're at almost go time.
I think my mind reached a new level of focus at this point. Like, let's do this.
Like all business.
the nurse had me, even before Dr. Gates was there,
Mm-hmm.
she had me, this is what it's going to be like to push, basically.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, we want to have you take a big deep breath, and then you're gonna push, and we're gonna count to 10 while you're pushing. Wasn't that what they did? And so
was it 3 times or 2 times?
3 times.
3 times in one contraction was the goal.
Things had progressed that much more, and so Dr. Gates comes in there, and now Tyler is in position to. He's kind of like holding one leg.
Yeah, I'm holding one leg. The nurse is holding the other.
I'm holding both legs back as well. My sister was over here on this side. She actually had her phone out and was recording this. And my mom and dad are back here, kind of, over this shoulder. It was just crazy how quickly everything went from there.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler is in prep mode to catch the baby.
Yeah, I had to get gloves on. I put them on wrong the first time.
inside out. It's going through your head. You're seeing this. You're on the business end of this.
If I expected it to take longer, so I was kind of like, okay, they're going to ease you into it. The first round of pushing was kind of like, we're not really serious about these pushes, so just kind of work through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time, it's like, okay, we're doing really good. The third time, saw the actual head. The fourth set, her head, she was crowning.
This is over a span
boom, boom,
of literally 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Was the time we spent pushing.
Dr. Gates says, okay, we got a lot of hair here. He lets me play with her hair, puts it into a mohawk and stuff, and then he says, okay, Mom, reach your hand down there and touch. And
that's her head.
And actually she got to touch her head. And then it was at this point he's having her push, but it's like gentle. He's like just soft pushes, just little pushes. And I actually had to tell, and she was pushing so much they're like, nope, just
dial it back.
Yeah, dial it back, woman. And
I think he was trying to also stretch.
Yeah, he was.
The area in that time. Like there was strategy to all the way all this was playing.
So I'm down, crouched down, got one hand underneath, just waiting for the baby's head to come out. The doctor's got his hands under there. She came out face down. Doctor turns her head around, basically, her eyes open, wide open, just looks right up at me. It was beautiful. He
said, okay, Mom, reach down, right here under the baby's arms. Mm-hmm. And so here I am, legs, got my arms down there, like thinking, is this for real? Like, I reach up, and there I have physically pulled the baby from
from your own womb. Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Basically, the three of us, you, me, and the doctor, set the baby up on your chest. Baby's up there for just a little while. They clamp off the cord. They'll let me cut the cord.
Just all your emotions flooding to your brain at once. It's like my eyes didn't even know how to cry at that moment. Meanwhile, I got a little stitched up during those times. Dr. Gates said there was a little there, and so he did a couple stitches, which probably are long gone by now because they are just, the dissolving stitches. But it was just like, who cares at that moment? Who cares? Like,
oh yeah,
I just had a baby.
Just so fast. She did breastfeed a little bit. They want the baby to eat within that first hour, and she was able to do that.
Yes, there was that hour where she was just kind of there and laying on my chest.
Skin to skin on her chest.
It was kind of getting late by the time all of this was wrapping up, and Dad ran out and ran through the Burger King drive-thru for us, brought everybody back some Whoppers.
After about an hour, they moved us out of the birthing room to the actual mother-baby unit.
Where we stayed, and your parents got there. They drove up from Texas, like they started the afternoon and made it there. It was like 10 or 11 or something.
10, 11 or so. As
far as pain that I experienced after all of this, I was really surprised actually at the lack of pain. There was some swelling, you got some bleeding going on, but it was not anything unbearable. For what my body had been through that day, I was expecting a lot worse.
The first night, we didn't get a whole lot of sleep. Maybe just a couple of 10, 15-minute stretches in there. It was like a degree cool So they had to do a few things to get that checked out and do a few tests just to make sure everything was good.
And regardless of that, even just checking the vital signs coming in every so often for me and for her. And so you're just going to be woken up, or if you do get to sleep, you're going to be woken up quite a bit within that first night and next day too.
The next morning, our pediatrician got to come in and check on the baby. Dr. Gates came back and checked on you again.
And then, you're doing the breastfeeding thing, of course, and there were nurses there kind of helping with that. And I'll probably do a video just in itself about, my initial experiences with breastfeeding. It's not always a piece of cake. Definitely have stuck with that and continue to do that every couple hours since she's been born.
Probably have to pretty soon here.
Yep.
So that next morning, they were very quick getting us checked out. Both doctors were there, I think, before 8 o'clock. Right? Yeah, and they got everything that needed to be done. And
everybody looked good, and we were able to skedaddle.
Yeah, I think we got out by about 9 o'clock that morning.
We took her to her first actual pediatrician appointment going to the doctor this past Monday, and everything checked out really well, so that was a huge relief. She actually had gained weight, which it's common for them to lose some weight in that first week, so that was really, really cool. It's like, yay, the breast milk is working!
Something's coming out. Learned a lot in the first 2 weeks already.
We sure
It
have.
has been an education.
Yeah.
But great one for sure.
And we'll be learning more all the time, I'm sure. But like I said, please let us know if you have any other baby-related videos that you'd be interested in seeing.
Belle really hopes that you enjoyed her birth story.
We will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the kindness and support and love that you've been sending our way through all kinds of social media and everywhere. I think she can feel all the love that's coming in.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you guys later. Bye.